So hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Amesie's Corner. How are you all doing out there? So we got a really big adventure planned. We got a lot of destinations to hit up. We're going to go take a look at the abandoned Newburyport Turnpike, the abandoned section of Interstate 95, which is actually right in those woods right over there. We're actually driving right beside it right now. We're going to stop. We're going to take a look at what's left of it. We're going to take a little hike up it. We'll get some drone footage. I got the new drone. We got a Mavic Pro back here. We'll send that up over there and see what the abandoned highway. They wanted to do a lot of stuff with this highway when I was a kid. There was always an intention to put like a housing development, and then something about they wanted to put a prison out there, but Newburyport said, you're not putting a prison in Newburyport. Not in that town, not in the city of Newburyport, oh no. So it just kind of languished for my whole time, my whole youth. We'd come up there and just play around on it, ride our bicycles from where I lived and go up there and just up and down the highway. It was always kind of a neat destination because it was something out of an apocalypse movie. So yeah, we'll go take and get off the highway, we'll go take a look at that. And then we'll take a look at the location of the old Howard Johnson's in Byfield. There was a Howard Johnson's that was there when I was very young. I remember my uncle taking me there to get an ice cream when I was maybe 4 years old. This would have been somewhere around 1980, 81. And then it closed down shortly after. And then I want to take a trip to the old theme park. Of all things, the little town of Byfield had a theme park called Adventureland. And it was kind of a Wild West town and, you know, a Storyland type thing. Old Mother Hubbard had her shoe, and that was actually, we're passing that location right here, right now. Right to my left, we'll see a group of rocks. And I remember hearing stories from the elders that that group of rocks, they would be Indians. People dressed up as Indians waving to all the cars going by. This would have been what we're on now is a 4-lane either direction mega highway. But back in the late 60s, early 70s, this was just a 2-lane road, just like Route 1. And actually, it was Route 1 for a long time. Then in the 70s, 74, 76, in that neighborhood, the highway was built as we see it now, and a lot of neighborhoods were just cut right in half. You know, you put a highway like this straight through towns, many towns in northern Massachusetts, and it's bound to happen to have a lot of country roads cut up, and they made bridges for a few of them, and they also made this one bridge for none of them. There's a road called Pingree Farm Road, which technically doesn't exist. They made a giant highway bridge for it, just a regular overpass like we just went under a second ago. So anyways, yeah, we're about to get off. Let's go take a look at the old abandoned highway. We'll be there in a second. Awesome. Well, all right, guys, we're out here at the abandoned highway. We actually parked off the Hale Street entrance to it. It's much more accessible nowadays than it was when I was younger. They kind of made an effort to keep people from going out here for a little while. Then they allowed people to come out here. There was actually a skate park put out here that was at Cashman Park in Newburyport, but they didn't like all the noise and kids and all that, so they put that skate park right here, literally right here. Now, it's a lot more grown in than I remember it being, but here we have it. There it is, the abandoned 95, back when 95 was a 2-lane road. And yeah, it's a lot more grown in. You can see that this town, or the city, kind of keeps a little bit of the path open, but when I was growing up, it was side to side. It wasn't nearly as grown in as this. The 95, the new 95 is right over there. We'll take a look at that from the So yeah, this is the abandoned stretch of Interstate 95. It actually was Route 1 in the beginning. This would have been listed as Route 1 before, oh, I want to say the 60s. And then when 95 was made in the 70s, this would have been changed over when they made the new one into Interstate 95. And yeah, this just kind of left into disrepair. It kind of grew in as I was growing up. But 10 years or so ago, Newburyport said, hey, this would be a great place to have a nice little walking trail. And they actually went and cleaned it up as best you can. You know, what can you do to an abandoned highway? And they made little structures such as this, cute little verandas, which may not be as safe as they were when they made them, apparently. It's definitely seen better days, but yeah, one of the little waterways that goes through. Just a cool little standing area, sitting area. It's not the cleanest water in the world out here, but you know, I wouldn't want to drink or go swimming in it, but the views are amazing. Yeah, so yeah, Newburyport kind of stepped up and made this a trail. They allow you to be out here nowadays, and it's probably about maybe 3/4 of a mile or so from one end to the other. It goes from Hale Street to where the I-95 Newburyport off-ramp. It kind of goes into that area. You can actually park at either end. You can park down at the off-ramp end, or you can park at the Hale Street end, which is right up in that hill right there. So just a cool little place to come out and enjoy a day, have a little picnic out here. Like I said, I spent a lot of time as a kid just playing out here on this little road, riding bicycles up and down. At nighttime, it's really dark, really eerie and spooky. It's just kind of a surreal place. There's not a lot of real big buildings or a lot of lights around the area, so you get a real good view of the sky that you kind of lacking nowadays around this area. So anyways, yeah, the abandoned highway, I don't know what else to say about it other than it's still here. So why don't we take a little trip down a little further. I want to recreate a photo of someplace I went when I was very, very young that closed down right after I went there. Well, all right, guys, we just left the abandoned highway. What a spooky place, huh? It's amazing that even still exists, that it hasn't been turned into a housing development or lost to time, but the city of Newburyport, they see in it some value as being a cool place, a cool little walking path, that cool little veranda and all that. That was never there when I was a kid, and it looks like it's not going to be there much longer. Well, anyways, the next thing I want to do is I want to recreate a photo. Here, hopefully you guys can see it. If it works, great. If not, I'll just superimpose a picture. But I want to recreate this photo. This is the old Howard Johnson's that was here when I was very young. I remember being 4 or 5 years old, and we lived maybe a quarter mile from this little house I grew up in, the little town called Byfield I grew up. And I remember coming here with my Uncle Brian to the Howard Johnson's, and he got an ice cream. I got an ice cream. I got a vanilla ice cream cone. I still remember getting it. I still remember walking down this little bendy road we're going down right now, and there was the Howard Johnson's building that we saw in that picture, only it didn't have the fancy roof. The fancy roof had been lost to time, or those faux roofs are hard to keep up. They're not really meant to last a long time. When I went there, it didn't have the roof. There was a hotel in the picture that was no longer there. And shortly after I went and took had that ice cream, it was actually, that building was literally right where this building here is. That building would have been right about here. And yeah, why don't we get out of the car and we'll talk a little more about it. Well, and here we are at the 95 North Business Center. This is something that was put in, I want to say sometime in the early 90s, 93, 92, 94, somewhere in that neighborhood. But probably 5 or 6 years before they built this, the old Howard Johnson's building still stood right there, right where kind of the entrance to this, whatever this is, storage facility. Yeah, store yourself. And right here would have been the entrance to the Howard Johnson's. If I can remember from my youth, the door, that front door would have been right about in the middle of these little pretty area here. And that picture that I'm referencing, this would have been the front door to the building. Let's I got my phone on me. Bear with me here, guys. Now if we look, this building here would have been standing right here, right in this area where my shadow is. And it didn't have that roof, that fancy roof on it. Sorry if this is glaring and not working. It was just that building, and I remember that one door and that window there. And a few years after I went and got that ice cream, the place closed down. The building still stood for a good number of years. And I distinctly remember, if you see, there are a few swimming pools. The one where the girl's diving into, there's a bit of a lap pool there, and there was another lap pool. I distinctly remember the outlines of these swimming pools being right here. The swimming pools would have been right in this area right here. That little girl jumping would have been jumping. Oh, right about here where I am now. Right about here would have been where those pools had been. This building over to the left is the old hotel. That was never standing when I was alive. I don't remember there being a hotel. There was just the Howard Johnson's building with a flat roof on it. Now, if you look closely to right between the, let me see if we can get a little better shot, to the slide right there, you can just barely make out a bridge in the background, a green bridge, and one of the bridge abutments down there. And that would be, you know, the building's a little in the way to create the perfect recreation of this shot, but it would have been right there. Now if you look, you can see, it's hard to point to it, the one bridge abutment right there, that would be that abutment, or the pier, whatever they're called, right in the middle of the bridge. You can see that red dump truck going right there. That red dump truck would have been driving down that on-ramp right there. And this is where this was. This is the old Newburyport Turnpike, Howard Johnson's location. And this is the best picture I can find of it. And yeah, here we are. One of my oldest memories of being in Byfield, the town I grew up, was coming to this Howard Johnson's. And when I saw this picture, I knew by the swimming pools that it was this place. And now that I'm looking at this picture and where everything lines up, the on-ramp over here, where that gravel truck is and everything, it is definitely right there. And that's what it would have looked like in its heyday. Awesome. I've always wanted to recreate this shot, and I think I got it right there. I think that's pretty good, guys. Well, all right, next stop I want to take is I want to go take a ride to the road. There's a road that doesn't exist. They made one of these very expensive highway bridges back in the 70s for a road that just never came to be. The bridge still stands. It looks like a lot like the abandoned highway. It's a little bit of a hike to it. It's called Pingree Farm Road in Rowley, and it's kind of a nature conservation trail somewhat maintained by the town, and it's about a mile and a half south of here. But yeah, there's that location. Awesome, guys. I always wanted to make that shot. Well, all right, guys, here we are at the Pingree Farm Road, the Pingree Farm Recreational Conservation Area, I guess is what they're calling it nowadays. If anybody was asking why I built a lifted rally wagon, it's because I bring it places like this, you know. You got big rocks to get over that could tear a hole in a gas tank, but I like to go places like this. That's why I built a lifted rally wagon, in case you're wondering. And it's still going strong. Got an update on that coming soon. But anyways, yeah, there is an abandoned bridge, of all things, on 95 in Rowley that millions of people drive under every day, and you'd never know it. You'd never know that there was a bridge to nowhere right above your heads. If you're driving on 95 north or south through Rowley, you'll notice that, or actually every bridge on 95 in Massachusetts is painted. They're all green. Every one is green. We saw that the one that we just went and recreated, that Howard Johnson's photo, the bridge is green. They're all green, except for one bridge in Rowley. There's one bridge going over both lanes of I-95, and it's never been painted. It's just rusting away. It's rusty and weird that, you know, what's this one unpainted bridge? Well, that's a bridge to nowhere. So yeah, we got a few rules to follow. Definitely a public place. If you guys are in the area, I recommend checking it out. It's really beautiful out here. But yeah, we got a little bit of a hike ahead of us, and we'll get you back on when we get to the old abandoned bridge, and it should be a cool sight. I actually haven't been there in 38 years. It's been 38 years since I've been out here. My family used to live on a property that was bordering this conservation land, and my last memory of this bridge is coming out here with my father in I believe we were in a Dodge Ram Charger, of all things, and we drove right out. We were able to get right on the bridge, and yeah, that's my last memory. That's the last time I was out here, so I'm really looking forward to see what it looks like today. It looked pretty abandoned back then, so I'm guessing 30 years didn't do anything but make it look more abandoned. So we're going to continue down this trail here, and we'll take a look when we get there. Okay, guys, it's been a nice little walk, probably about a half mile or so, maybe a little less, and I come to the only part of Pingree Farm Road to have ever had pavement. And here's where the pavement starts that the federal government would have made when they made the highway. This would have been what they put in, probably expecting this road to someday be developed, but it never happened. This would have been 1974 that this would have all been done. And here it sits, just abandoned and left to nature. Just a walking trail now. It seems to be what everything's made out of. There's a lot of network of trails out here. I remember as a kid there being a lot of trails. I remember there was a trail that led right from my backyard to this area, but I was too young at the time to be allowed to go explore it myself, so I never got to learn it quite like I did when we moved to Byfield and I grew up riding dirt bikes out there. But if I had stayed in Rowley, I would have been riding dirt bikes out here, which is probably why you're no longer allowed to use motorized vehicles out here. Here we go. Boy, this is bringing back some memories. Just being able to see the bridge right now. Nice curbs, nice curbing installed. I mean, it was intended to be used. I guarantee you they intended this to be used as a road. As best I can remember, I remember being an inquisitive young kid with my father when we came out here, and I asked him why is there a bridge to nowhere here? And I think he said something about so the farmer could get his cattle across the road. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just something I remember hearing. I remember someone saying that, my father telling me that. And that's not quite uncommon for them to build access for the farmers to get cattle across. I know down by the abandoned highway there's an underpass that you never know is there, and that's so that they could get cattle under the highway. But I never knew they'd built expensive overpasses, you know, and roads to nowhere. This road right here is a road to nowhere, goes nowhere. And here we are. Millions of people drive under this bridge, and no one would ever know that it's abandoned. How cool is this? Boy, it is exactly, other than there being more graffiti now, it is exactly as I remember it. Wow, guys, cool, cool, too cool. Don't jump. Nah, definitely a lot of horses come out here. I know, because I can see their shit. Reagan Bush, 84. All right. Wow, how cool. I love the bridge. I love the bridge itself. Just the brickwork of it is kind of unlike any other bridge around here. They're all just utilitarian concrete. They actually took the time to make it all look like it's made out of bricks, or actually it might actually be granite. Yeah, made out of granite. That was one well-built bridge for not being used. No other bridge on 95 has these grates in them like this. Too cool, guys, too cool. More of another road to nowhere. A road to nowhere into Georgetown. Yeah, 1974. I was right with my date, wasn't I? 1974. Just a little before my time. But not so far before that, I don't remember it. Awesome. Look at this, more roads to nowhere. Just nowhere. No houses, no other roads, just kind of an old horse trail fire access road, but they really intended this to go somewhere. How cool is that? Roads to nowhere. Boy, guys, I didn't think it'd be as cool as this. You know, I don't remember it being quite as neat as this, but man, everything, drainage, the whole 9 yards. And here we are, guys, at the scene or the site of the old Adventureland theme park in Byfield off of Scotland Road. I-95 is literally right there, and if we look at the map that I have of this place, there's like a map they made for one of their brochures that shows Scotland Road right here, running this way up and down. That's Scotland Road, then 95 running that way. That would have been the old Route 1. I think it even labels on the map as old US Route 1, which then turned into 95 in this stretch. Route 1 still runs through. It's just about a mile or so that way. But yeah, this is where Adventureland used to be, right here. This was a theme park. All up in the hills. Now, you remember when we drove, we were on the highway and I pointed to that rocky cliff area that would have had the people waving on it. That would be directly behind that big radio antenna right there. And this all would have been, I believe the parking would have been out here. And I'm not really sure because it's not really any good maps of the area, but I believe that entrance would have been somewhere right up in this area just behind it. There's a hill here up over in this area, and they would have been all on this hill, and then there's a bunch of marshy areas all out and around. So yeah, there would have been an old Wild West town with fake gunfights, cops and or sheriffs and robbers and cowboys and everything. You know, faux fights and Indians would come in and raid the place, and just a big good time from what I heard. Remember when that had been to it and had seen it said it was a real fun place to be for, you know, what it was back in the day. And this all would have been it, all out over into there. So anyways, I got permission to film from the parking lot. I didn't ask for permission to go traipsing through the woods because this is getting to be a video, pretty long video. So I think in the spring, before the leaves come out, we'll get back out here and we'll maybe explore with the trail trucks and try to find some of the old trails. I've heard that there's a few fixtures and fittings and foundations and stuff out there. So yeah, we'll get a better look at it. Well, all right, guys, it was a fun adventure today. I've kind of learned some things I didn't know. I went to some places that I didn't even realize were quite the way they were nowadays. It's amazing how things change, but it's also amazing how things stay the same. Well, anyways, guys, I want to do a better video on the old Adventureland. I think in the spring we're going to get back out here and really explore the area. I don't know if you guys noticed in the overhead shot, the drone flight, I saw some structures over into there. They were like, if you look real close, you'll see some squares and some straight lines that you really don't see in the forest usually. Well, all right, guys, I'm going to get on with the rest of my day. I got to go home and do my chores, get this video edited up for you guys. I hope you enjoyed the trip as much as I did. It was a big trip down memory lane for me. And on that note, guys, and until next time, keep it out of the cabbage.